Hello everybody, I'm Kaushik. I'm from the Department of Computer Science, Vidhyaashram Pre-University College. In today's class, I'll be discussing about a chapter called Classes and Object. So before getting into this topic or this chapter in detail, I would like to discuss the blueprint of this chapter. So number of hours that I need for this chapter is 6. You can expect 2 questions from this chapter, that is 1 mark, 1 question and 5 mark, 1 question. So in total from this chapter you will be getting 6 marks. I will repeat, so you will be getting 2 questions, so that is 1 mark, 1 question and 5 mark, 1 question. Moving on to the next slide. So you have a bird's eye view, okay? You have the bird's eye view. In this bird's eye view, we have given all the important topics that you will get in this chapter, okay? So the first one that we have given is, so D and D. So what is the meaning of D and D here? So that is defining and declaring a class as an object. So that is what I have given as D and D. The second one that we have given is AS. What is the meaning of AS here? So AS in the sense access specifier. I'll be discussing in detail about this access specifier in this chapter. The third one is member function. So what is this member function? How many different types of member functions that we have? So all those things I'll be discussing in this chapter. And the last concept in this chapter is all about array of objects. That is what I have declared it, or I have given it as a AO. I will repeat. So we have 4 concepts. The first one is D and D, second one is AS, and the third one is MF, and the fourth one is AO. Sir, if I read all these topics, is it enough for me in this chapter? Of course, it is more than enough. All the important topics will be covered under this 4 major topics in this chapter. Moving on to the next slide. Before getting into this topic, whatever they have called it as a classes and objects, I want to clarify some of the concepts to all of you, okay? So let's get into this topic. All of you will be knowing, right? So the concept called data. So what is data? All of you know that data is the raw facts. It can be a text data, it can be an image data, it can be a video data, it can be an audio data. So in short, people call it as a data is a raw fact, okay? That is the point number 1 that you need to remember about the data. So all of you know that. Now, my second point is, so I will write something called information. What is information? Information is nothing but a processed data. For example, let me take an example like, I have the attendance book and I'm marking your attendance. Yes or no? Yes, I will mark your attendance. So whatever the attendance is I have, so that is what I will call it as a data. But if you ask me, tell me sir, how many people are present in the class, but I need to perform some calculations on the data or on the attendance book, whatever I have. If I perform some operation on the book to get the value that how many people are present in the class, so whatever the number that I will get at the end, so that number is what I will call it as a information. A processed data is nothing but I will call it as a information. So now you have the clear idea about the data and the information, okay? So moving on to the next concept. All of you will be knowing we have something called 10. So how do you represent 10? What type of data type is this? So I will call this as an integer, right? I will call it as a integer. Suppose if I write 10.25, so you will call it as a float. You will call it as a float. All of you know that, right? We have discussed all these things in the basic classes in the beginning. So we have int and we have float and we have many other data types, right? So what do you call this data type as? All these data types are predefined data type which is already defined. So right now, let me take an example. I have int a. So what do you call this as? A is a variable of type int, where and which I can store the integer values in the variable a. So suppose if I write float a, what is the meaning of this float a? So again, a variable a is of type float. You need to understand one concept here, my dear students. So float and int is a predefined data type. Float and int is a predefined data type. So suppose if I want to create my own data type, so what is that I have to do? Is it possible for me to store however I want? Is it possible for me using this? No, because I need to follow some of the rules which is already defined. So for that reason, I have a problem. So to solve this problem, how can I solve this problem? Can anybody tell me? Oh, those who are looking, no, that's it, and they say, look at me. Okay, how can I solve this problem? So yes, I have the solution to solve this problem using a concept called classes and objects. Classes and object will help me to create my own data type. You can tell me, sir, I can create the user-defined data type using structure also. I'll come back to that in the next video. So what is the difference that I have with the structures and classes and objects? Of course, I can create my user-defined data type with structures also, but I have a lot of advantages with classes and objects than the structures. My topic for the day is classes and objects, which will help me to create my own data type. Moving on to the next slide. Before getting into the topic, I have some of the points that listed out in the slides just to discuss. Okay, the first point goes like this. The class definition is a process of naming class and variable. The first point says, okay, class definition in the sense, it is a process of naming the variables and the classes. So that is what they will call it as a class definition. The second point that they have is the variable declared inside the class is known as a data member. Okay, for example, I have int a, okay, which is declared inside the class. So that is what I will call it as a data member. So that is what the second point says. Third one, okay, suppose if I declare any function inside the class, even that also I will call it as a member function. So remember, I have declared two variables inside the class, then you will call that as a data member. If I declare two functions inside the class, you will call that as a member functions. Okay, remember, if I declare any functions inside the class, you will call it as a member function. If I declare any variable inside the class, you will call it as a data member. Moving on to the fourth point, access control specifier. It's very simple, guys. Access control specifier in the sense who should be able to see and who should not be able to see. So that is what I'm going to specify with a feature called access specifier. I'll be discussing about this topic in detail in the coming classes. And the fourth one is class tag name. Okay, I'll be using a keyword called class. Using that keyword called class, I will be declaring the entire class, and each class will have a unique name, which I'm going to discuss in the next slide in detail. Remember, I have discussed these many points. The first point goes like this, that is the class definition. The second one is all about the data member. Third one is all about the member function. And the fourth one is all about the access specifier. And the last one is all about the tag name. Okay, so moving on to the next slide to discuss in detail about the general structure of a class. My dear students, it's very, very important, this slide, whatever you guys are seeing. Please observe, I am using a word called class. I cannot just say that this is a word. In fact, this is a keyword. So all of you know that. You have already studied in the first PUC that, what is the meaning of keyword? Keywords are nothing but reserved words. Already we have defined the meaning of this class. So after using this keyword called class, I am using, okay, user defined name. What is the meaning of user defined name, sir? You have used, the meaning of that is, sir, I can write any name whatever I want. So that will be the name of this class. Remember, after the keyword called class, I can write any name of my own wish. Okay, remember one more point. So it should satisfy the rules of identifiers. It should satisfy the rules of identifiers, then only I can use it here. Whatever I write, that will become the name of the class, and also the name should satisfy the rules of identifier. That is the first point you should remember. So one more thing. So this is the first thing that I should remember. This is the second thing that I should remember. So the third thing, always my class starts with a flower bracket and ends with the flower bracket. Okay, so you need to observe one thing. So here I have ended my class with a semicolon. So if at all, if you come across with a flower bracket followed by the semicolon, so that is the meaning that exactly in that particular position your class ends. So remember, so opening flower bracket and also I have closing flower bracket. After that I have semicolon. So the semicolon gives you the meaning that is the end of the particular class. So you understood opening flower bracket and the closing flower bracket. So this I will call it as a point number 3. So point number 4 that you need to remember, already I have discussed. So these 3 things, whatever I have marked, so these 3 things are the access specifiers. These 3 things are the access specifiers. Please make a note, I have 3 different access specifiers. Please make a note, I have 3 different access specifier. The first one here is private, second one is public, and the third one is protected. Sir, is it mandatory that I should write it in the same order? No. It's not mandatory that you should write it in the same order. And one more point you need to remember, sir, by default, the access specifier of the class in C++ will be private. Even if you don't mention any of the access specifier, by default, it will be private. Sir, what is this access specifier? Sir, you did not discuss anything about this access specifier. My dear student, I'll be discussing about this access specifier in the coming topic in detail with an example. So just remember the syntax as of now. Okay, so I have told you, so we have 3 different access specifier. What is that I have inside this class? In the first slide I have discussed, you have 2 things. Number 1 is data member, another one is member function. Can you just recollect what is the meaning of data member? Data members are nothing but the variables which you declare inside the class, and the functions which you declare inside the class, you will call it as a member function. So all the access specifier can have data member and member functions. Hope it is clear to all of you. Remember, so the first thing that I should have is class keyword, then followed by you should give the name of the class. So remember, class keyword followed by the name of the class. Then after that you will have open flower bracket. Inside this 3 access specifier you will write. How many access specifier you will write? 3 access specifier, public, private, protected. In any order you can write. Okay, so it's not mandatory that in the same order you should write. So you can write it in any order. Public, private, protected. Inside that what you will write? Data member, member function. Data member, member function. Data member, member function is what you are going to write. It's very important that you should remember always your class ends with the semicolon. So this is all about the general syntax of a class. So this is what we call it as a declaration and definition of a class. Moving on to the next concept. So that's what they have mentioned in the slide. Keyword class is used to declare a class. User defined name is the name of the class, which we have already discussed. And also remember, whenever you are giving the name, make sure that you will satisfy the identifier rules. Okay, and the fourth one is class body is enclosed with a pair of flower brackets, and there are generally 3 types of access specifier. We have private, protected, and public. So moving on to the next one. Guys, it's very, very important that you should know the meaning of this access specifier. Okay, so I have already defined and I have already discussed public, private, protected. Let us understand in detail about this access specifier. Let's take an example. Imagine we have a beautiful toilet. Okay, so very a lot of fragrance is coming from the toilet. Imagine the toilet is in the suburban bus stand. Okay, so is it restricted? Only you can go and use the toilet? No, right? Everybody can go and use it. Okay, so understand the example. I have a toilet, so it's in the bus stand, so everybody can go and use the toilet. So that is what you need to understand here. That is one thing. So everybody, in the sense, all the people can access. Observe my words, all the people can access. Can it become a public? Can it become a public? Yes. So public toilet, I will call it as a public toilet. So that is the toilet number 1. Toilet number 2, I have a toilet which is in my room. Okay, so will I allow everybody, those who are going on the street, or come and use my toilet, because it is giving a good fragrance? Can I use it? Can I do that? No, it is only for me. Okay, only for me. Only I can use it. So can I call it as a private? So imagine I have one more toilet. So I have a toilet inside my house. Can I restrict everybody not to use that toilet which is inside the house? No, right? So all of them, those who are my family members, okay, those who are my family members, and I can also use, my family members can also use. If suppose my friends comes, can I allow them to use the toilet? Yes. Remember these 3 toilets. I'll be discussing that toilets here. Okay. So we have 3 access specifier. The first one is private, the second one is public, and third one is protected. I'll be explaining this 3 access specifier with a beautiful toilet in the coming slide. So first we have the beautiful concept, that is private access specifier. Remember, we have 2 things inside the class. One is data member, another one is member function. I will repeat. I have 2 things inside the class. First one is data member and the second one is member function. So I don't want everybody to access the data member and member function. I want only I should access the data member and member function. How can I avoid from everybody to access my data member and member function? So for that I have a challenge. So to solve this problem, I have a concept called access specifier. In that access specifier, I will be using private. If I declare my data member and member function inside the private access specifier, my dear students, nobody can use except my class members. Okay, only the people, those who are inside the class, can access this data member and member function. Suppose if he or she is not a member of the class, then he or she cannot use the data member and member function. Sir, who is that he or she you are mentioning? My dear students, I meant he or she in the sense the object which I am going to create for this class. Sir, what is object? I will discuss in the coming concepts. Hope you understood. Private in the sense, if I declare any data members inside private, okay, only the member which belongs to that particular class can access, nobody else can access. Remember that. Moving on to the next one, that is public. What is the meaning of public? Sir, whatever I have declared inside the public, everybody can access, even outside the class can be accessed. Even outside the class can be accessed. Even I'm not a member of the class, but still I'll be able to access that particular data member and member function. So that is what the meaning of public. So remember the public toilet, everybody can access. Okay. So they have given an example here. Suppose if I want to declare any data member, what is the syntax that I have to use? I have to use a keyword called public, and then I have to use a data type, what type of variable that you want to create. So I am using int, and the name of the variable is width. Name of the variable here is width. I am creating a variable of type int, and access specifier for that particular variable is public. What is the meaning of it? Width can be accessed inside the class and outside the class also. So that is the meaning of this public int width. So they have given one example here. They are using a function called void, and then set height is the name of the function. So don't worry about all those things. The meaning of this example is, even this function is also under the scope of public. This function can be accessed anywhere inside the class. Sir, why are you not explaining this function? Because I have not explained what is function to you right now. So I will not explain this in detail right now. So I will be explaining in the next concept. So as of now, you just remember, so public keyword I am using to make the data member and the member function as public. Public in the sense what? So you can access anywhere. So that is what you need to understand as of now. Moving on to the next one. I have protected, the last topic for the day. What is the meaning of protected, sir? What is the meaning of protected? So protected in the sense 3 people can access. Remember my toilet which is in the general, like inside the house, 3 people can access. One is myself, and the one is my parents, those who are inside the house, and my friend if he comes. So 3 people can access. So same thing we'll just see. So the first one, who can access the public protected members? The first one is member function. Member function in the sense those who are inside the class. So for them I will call it as a member function. They can access the data member and member function. The second one is friend function of that particular class. So what is friend function? It's going to be discussed in the next chapter. So friend function can also access the data member and member function which is declared under protected. So what is the next one? So the member function derived from the class, those who are derived, I can call it as a relatives as of now, okay? So I have a base class, so using this class I will derive one more class. So these class can also access this data member and member function. 3 points you need to remember with respect to the protected. The first one is member function can access, the second one is friend function can access, third one is derived class can access which is declared under protected. So I will just give you a small recap whatever I have discussed, okay? So let's move on to the first slide. Remember this. So you need to remember these many points. The first point you need to remember is class. How do you create a class? Using the keyword called class. What is the second point you need to remember? The name of the class. Sir, why should I need the name of the class? So can I just leave it empty? No, because you need to, do you have any names? Why do you have names? Can I leave it empty without naming you? Is it possible? No, right? So to identify any class uniquely, I need name for the class. So that too, I have to follow the rules of identifier. That is the second thing that I should remember. So the third thing that I have is opening and closing flower bracket. Please don't remember that. Please don't remember. Okay. So because you'll forget, right? So that's why. So please remember this. And then last one is semicolon. Okay. So I have to close my class with a semicolon. If you come across with a semicolon, make sure that is the end of the class. Inside that, you have 3 access specifier. The first one is public, private, protected. Sir, should I maintain the order? No, again, you don't have to maintain the order. So however you feel comfortable, you can use it. Okay. So inside that access specifier, what do I have? I have 2 things, data member and member function. Remember the variable, okay? Whatever I have the variable. So for example, if I write int a, so I will call this a as variable, right? So if I have this variable inside the class, I will call it as a data member. If I have any function inside the class, I will call it as a member function. So these things are very important. This is the general syntax of a class. Moving on to the next slide. So I have discussed about 3 access specifier, public, private and protected. So let me start with the private. So private in the sense, I will be using the keyword called private. Make sure that after this keyword, so you have to give the colon. You have to use the colon. Then after that, you can declare the variables. So what is the meaning of this? So my int x and y will come under the access specifier called private. So what is the meaning of it? Only the class member can access this int x and int y. So that is the meaning. Okay, nobody else can access. So moving on to the next one. I have public. If I declare any data member and member function, so it can be accessed anywhere, even outside the class. So that is what the meaning of public. Last one, so that is protected. Protected in the sense 3 people can access. Remember, 3 people can access. The first one is member function. Second one is friend function. Friend function can also access. Make sure that that friend function should be a friend of that particular class. Only then he can access, or no, that class can access. The last one is derived class can access. So please remember this. Okay. So hope you don't have any doubts with respect to these topics. Suppose if you have the doubts, please ping me. I will be taking that particular doubt in the next coming session and I will discuss, and then I'll move forward to the next concept. Thank you everybody.